Pope Benedict will proceed with his trip to Britain despite it being mired in controversy. But some protesters who accuse the Pope of covering up child sex abuse by Catholic clergy say they will demand his resignation when he arrives. And there are fears others may attempt to make a citizen's arrest if they get close enough to the head of the Roman Catholic Church. Their anger is focused on a 2001 edict to Catholic bishops worldwide, in which he allegedly ordered a cover-up of child sex abuse by priests. However, some Catholics believe the Pope is the target of the latest anti-religion campaign by UK fundamentalist secularists and say nothing will be gained by trying to put the Pope through an international court. To make matters worse, the UK government has issued an apology to Rome after it emerged a British diplomat had authored a spoof government memo proposing the Pope could open an abortion clinic during his state visit. Anjum Noorani, the leader of the papal visit team, which drew up the joke document, was moved to other duties after it was leaked to newspapers. Today's agenda asks the question: Rome, should the Pope downgrade or even cancel his state visit to Britain? My first guest is well known to agenda viewers for his acerbic views, sharp wit and political analysis, all the qualities needed to be editor of Spiked Online, an award-winning online magazine. Welcome to Brendan O'Neill. He blames new atheists for launching a secular inquisition against the Pope. Joining him is Malcolm Johnson, coordinator of the Association of Child Abuse Lawyers, an organisation set up to improve compensation awards for victims of child abuse. He doesn't think the government should extend the red carpet treatment by way of a state visit to the leader of the Roman Catholic Church. Ella Leonard is a spokesperson and member of Catholic Voices, and she believes a papal visit to the UK would be highly beneficial. But I'm going to start with you first, Brendan. What do you mean by secular inquisition?
Well, I'm an atheist and I believe in having a secular democratic society, but I think what we have is a hysterical form of atheism today. It's the new atheism, the new secularism, which is intolerant and almost pathological. I think its campaign against the Pope has entered into pathological territory. It's become obsessive and quite crazed even. And I think the reason I compare it to an inquisition is because it's underpinned by three things which remind me of the Inquisition. Firstly, it's underpinned by an exaggeration of the crimes that took place in the Catholic Church. I mean, no one will excuse the instances of child abuse that did take place, but it is highly inaccurate to depict the whole Catholic Church as a vast conspiracy made up of paedophiles. That's just not accurate. Secondly, it's built on intolerance of a specific religion. I'm always struck by the fact that new atheists seem to have a problem with Catholicism in particular. They don't focus their critique on other religions, and I think that speaks to kind of latent anti-Catholicism which has long been existing in British society amongst the British elite, amongst the British middle classes. There has long been anti-Catholic tendencies, and I think they are coming through in this campaign as well. And finally, I think the reason it's like the Inquisition is because I think it's been launched, the campaign against the Pope has been launched to satisfy the needs of the witch hunters themselves, to make them feel better, to give their secularism a sense of purpose, where they can't gain a sense of purpose through their ideas and through enlightening society and through putting forward a positive case for secularism. They try to get validation by default, by witch hunting the Pope. So those three things make it look to me a bit like an inquisition, a bit extreme, a bit hysterical and highly intolerant.
Ella, do you see this as being a witch hunt against the Pope?
I don't actually see it as being a witch hunt, but speaking as a Catholic, I have found obviously some of the coverage quite upsetting, personally. I think what it's doing is in some ways actually taking the focus away from what we should be dealing with and are dealing with in the Catholic Church, which is the abuses that no doubt we'll be talking about later in the programme. I think that the Catholic Church has focused very clearly and firmly on dealing with priests and etc. in these very difficult situations and helping victims. We've had a real sea change in the way that we have approached victims of child abuse, and one case of child abuse, quite frankly, is too many, and the Church is quite rightly held up under a different set of rules. We should be better than the general public, better than families.
You're saying that this papal visit will actually be of benefit to Britain. I mean, how would you sell it to the non-Catholics in Britain?
Right, well, I think, he's the leader of the Catholic faith. He represents, if you like, for the Catholics in Britain, of which there are about 4 million and 1 million practising Catholics. Our leader and somebody who can really bring us together. And actually, I think there's no harm at all in the country coming together in prayer. It's something we don't do enough. And I think he's a unifying figure, actually, rather than a figure that divides. And that's how we should see this visit.
Malcolm, you don't want to roll out the red carpet for the Pope, do you?
I think we have to differentiate between a visit by a head of state and the enormous anger that's been building up in this country, in Ireland, and also in Europe, by victims of child abuse, people who are victims of Catholic priests. I do accept what Brendan is saying about a witch hunt. I think there are always elements of that in any child abuse scandal, and also the press have made a great deal of it as well. I think it's very important to realise that what we have is the Pope coming here. He is a head of state. I think you talked earlier about somebody trying to do a citizen's arrest. Well, because he has diplomatic immunity, you can't actually do that. But the point is that unfortunately what we've seen is great anger, not only against the priests who committed the abuse, but also the Church's attitude towards those victims. And you referred to a letter early on of cover-ups, and we see a lot of that in our cases.
Well, you're saying that he has immunity, but there are lawyers at the moment who are drawing up papers to have him either charged or indicted or a writ served on him. I'm not sure what the legal basis is. You're the lawyer.
Well, I'm not sure that's going to work. I mean, it's rather like having the President of Russia coming over here and sort of launching an arrest warrant. I just don't think it would be feasible. But in any, I think what his security people have to watch out for is obviously his security will be very important indeed. But the reality is, I think that when he comes over here, I think that there will be enormous support from all denominations, but at the same time there will be people in the background who will be expressing their concern at the way that the Catholic Church has handled this whole issue, not only here but across the whole of Europe as well.